So what is the bigger purpose of Lego Serious Play? Well, the bigger purpose of Lego Serious Play is really to break what we call the 20/80 syndrome. Lego Serious Play is a technique so people that somehow have to get around the table to resolve something, to imagine how they can become better, where the organization is going. Typically what happens is that 20% of the people around the table will use 80% of the talking time to talk about what they always talk about and which we already know they're going to talk about before the meeting starts, right? And at the end of the day, the meeting ends by people saying, do we all agree? And they say yes, but they don't. They're just tired. And then they go out and have a cup of coffee. And the first thing you hear out there is, I don't believe this is going to work right. So people don't really believe that what they did in that meeting will help something. The goal of Lego Serious Play is to break that and create what we call a 100-100. So that everybody participates with everything they have got. So it's not just the 20%, it's not that talks all the time, it's the 100%. Because the real problem with the 20/80 is that most of the ideas are in the 80%. And if you really want to become better in an organization, to become better in a team, you need to unlock that potential, every potential that's in the room. And you say, yeah, that sounds good, Robert. And it also is more fun, and you can also see it because people are leaning in, which is why we call it a leaning in technology. Versus what I'm doing now, I'm leaning back. So it's a leaning in, it's getting people to lean in. It is more fun. And the benefit is really three things. We want to make sure we maximize all the potential that we have in the room. Second, we also want to make sure that when people make a decision, people are actually confident that this is the best thing they could do because, okay, I'm confident because I've heard what you say, I understand where you're coming from, I can see your point of view and stuff like that. And ultimately, because people also have the confidence, they will also commit and actually really agree with whatever comes out of the meeting. So that's the purpose of Lego Serious Play, to create what we call a 100-100, get people to lean in and break the 20/80 syndrome. And why, Pierre, would that be a good idea also? What's the benefit?
One thing with the commitment that I think is important to underline here is this notion of that commitment is really this voluntary choice of acting when nobody's looking at you. Everything else is incentives or management or rules, but commitment is the voluntary choice of acting. When nobody's looking, when nobody's checking, when you're sitting on your own. And one of the reasons why it's really important now and it's increasingly important is that with the way organizations are today, we're going to list three things here that we have identified. One is this notion of that many teams and many organizations are placed in different places. They have multiple locations. Even the smallest startup team can be they may be in, let's say, Cairo and Connecticut and, let's say, Singapore. So they need these people sitting in all of these places to act committed. Nobody's going to check on them. They can't call anyone, so they need to have that commitment. But these multiple locations also means that they probably are not together as often as a team with one location would be. So they need, when they need to meet better. So that's why. So you have less time together, so you want to maximize the time you have together. So this whole multiple locations things increases the importance of unlocking the knowledge when you are together, and so that people are committed to acting on what they agree on. So that would be one reason. Second one would be related, of course, this notion that we more and more of these teams are, let's say, multicultural or multilingual or multi-backgrounds, and that can make it harder sometimes to communicate. So you need to be able to talk about these things and to be involved at the same time it's increasingly difficult for all of these barriers: language, culture, educational. So this also helps these really diverse teams come together and come together about. And this would going to be the third point, with the purpose really of developing knowledge. And one of the things I think that most people agree on right now is that in all fields, in all domains, there's an exponential growth of knowledge. There's been so many statistics about that. How quick knowledge is doubling. So there's much more available knowledge, and each person has a much sort of deeper personal expertise. So to actually access all of that knowledge and make sense of all of that knowledge and move it from what I know to what we know, so this notion of the collective knowledge, that would be another reason for why Lego Circle could really be helpful.
And of course, Per, you know that if this is not important for you as a leader, to really maximize all the potential you have in your team and all the potential you have in the room, if this is not important for you, you would not be interested in Lego Serious Play.
Yep.
If this is not important for you, that people are more confident and people are more committed, right, and people have a chance to really contribute, then you would not be interested in Lego Serious Play.
That would be correct.
We agree on that one. Okay.